I want to share a new resource that I found for SVG files. Little backstory. So I was in a Cricut group and I saw this. It's a little, it folds flat, and then when you pop it open, it looks like a bouquet of flowers. And I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. Where did you get the SVG file for it? And the person that posted it said, oh, I actually make them. I was like, what? That is gorgeous. And I wanted to know their site. So they gave me a link to their site, Fable and Guild. I'll link to it in the video. And I started looking through here, and there's some amazing stuff. And since I do a lot of cards, um, I was looking specifically at their card stuff. And there's an easel in here to kind of prop your cards up. Either like if you're displaying them at the holidays or you get a really pretty one that you want to put on the mantle. Or for me, I wanted to use this little easel to display my cards for my photography when I'm promoting stuff. So I got the SVG file, I downloaded it, I uploaded the SVG files to Design Space. If you don't know how to use a true SVG file, I'll put a link to that tutorial in the description for this video. Okay, so since I've already done that, here's the two-piece upload. Okay, so I'm going to select Add to Canvas and bring this in here. So this is a totally honest review and tutorial because you can see I'm just bringing these into Design Space for the first time. Okay. So if you look along this, it has here a basic cut, which is right here. And then there's another basic cut right here. So I am going to have to, because I don't really want to cut those. I want those to be fold lines. So they do have instructions on how to switch the cut lines to fold lines. So I am going to switch over to that. So here are the directions. And actually, once I read through this, they make it even easier than I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to show you how to do it, but I will probably also link to this little tutorial that they did because it's so good. Okay, so let's go back to Design Space. So this layer here where it says Basic Cut is really just for those score lines right here. So the reason they say cut right now is because when you make a true SVG file, there's no real way to differentiate a cut line from a score line. So some designers will make it a cut line and tell you you have to change it. So what you can do is you click here so that you're just clicking on that scored layer and change the operation from cut to score. So now you'll see instead of a solid line that it's going to, which means cut, this line, and this line all change to score lines. So let's do the same thing for this line, because here, let me back up a bit. If I click this, I'm clicking this whole grouping, which is the cut pieces and the folded score lines. But if I click over here from the layers panel, I can click just one. Now I'm the big cut piece. Now this is the score part. So all I have to do is go switch this to score. And see how it switched all those lines to dash lines? Brilliant. I love that. Okay. And it also changed it over here to say score. So next, I am going to look at the size of this. Okay. I'm just going to make it the size it says for this file to see how big this comes out. Design Space has been quirky lately, and I've noticed it does sometimes bring in files larger than they need to be or that they were created to be. But since it's my first time making this, I'm just going to go with it. So I'm going to click Make It. And I'm also going to turn on my Cricut. Otherwise, Design Space is going to say, what are you trying to cut? You don't even have the machine turned on. Okay. Ooh. So this shows me I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to attach my score lines. Because see how it's got the score lines on one page and then the cuts on the other? So it's back up and cancel. And that was probably in the directions I was just going too quick. So if I select everything for this one and go way down to the bottom of the screen, there's a little paper clip. The way I have my screenshot going, you can't really see it, but it says attach. So now I've attached the score lines to the cut lines. I'm going to do that here too. Attach. Okay, and now I'm going to save this because I want to use this project again. And I don't want to have to save it again and again and update it or worry about losing it. So I'm going to card stand. Okay. Now let's click Make It. And I should only have 2 mats because I have 2 colors. So now we can see our mat preview. I have 2 mats. And this one says first it's going to score and then it's going to cut. So when I click continue and go to my Cricut, it's first going to ask me to insert my scoring stylus. That's going to go over the cardstock and just kind of drag and make crease lines for my folding. And then it'll go back and cut the pieces. So I'm going to cut things. Then I might even do a video of me putting this together. And you can see how it all turns out. So now I've put in the scoring stylus and loaded my mat. You can see the C is blinking. So let's just press that. It's going to go across and score those 3 fold lines. Okay, so now since I have an older machine, I have to take out the scoring stylus and put in my blade. If you have one of the newer machines with the dual carrier, you wouldn't have to do that. So now it's blinking to say, okay, you ready to do the cutting? Yes, yes I am. So now it's going to cut. And it's going to be all perfectly aligned with where it needs to be for the score lines because of using the SVG file. And because I didn't unload the mat, I just switched from scoring stylus to blade. So you can see it cutting. This is going to take a while because there's lots of intricate little pieces. So I'm not going to videotape the whole thing, but we'll continue when we're putting it all together. Here's a little Cricut tip. Since the pieces are only covering a little over 4 inches on the mat, what you can do is after that first piece is cut and I've removed the excess cardstock, I can actually take my mat and rotate it this way. So now when I put the second piece of cardstock on, yes, it lays over the top of the first piece, but it's only going to cut right here. So then when I remove this excess, both pieces will still be on the cutting mat. Now that everything is cut and I've taken the pieces off of the Cricut cutting mat, I can start to assemble things. One thing I really like about the SVG files, they come with a PDF that shows you how to put it together. I have done some Cricut projects and they don't have any instructions. It's really annoying. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to use my bone scoring tool. This is just something to kind of smooth out creases. If you don't have one of these, I've used an old credit card you just want something that's hard and firm that you can kind of smooth things over with. Okay, so we're going to fold both of these in half on their little crease lines. And I like to get started with my fingers, kind of like that, and then set it down and just smooth over it. And while I was doing that, I noticed there was one little tiny piece that did not come out when I took it off the mat. So I'm going to use my pin pen. Oops, get the camera. So it's a pen that's got like a little pin point in it. So now I can just poke right in there and get that piece out. So now, as long as I'm looking, let's make sure all pieces are good. Okay. This is really great for weeding vinyl also. You can just poke it into the vinyl to pull things up. You can get this at my craft source. Okay. So now let's fold this one in half. Like I said, I like to kind of get started with my fingers. And then once I fold it in half, I'll go over it with the bone folder to just make sure that crease is really nice. And now this will also help so that I can line these up on top of each other. Actually, they're going to go that way. So then when I layer them on top of each other, you can see how the darker shows through. I did two kind of shades of like a creamy beige. It's really subtle. I really like how that looks. Okay, so now I want to put adhesive on one side of this, and I'm going to use glue. Just good old-fashioned glue. I'm just going to smooth it around. Sometimes I like to use a glue pen, which would look like this, so that you can get into little areas. Other times I do like to use just good old-fashioned, this is called tacky glue. And then that will kind of spread it into the creases. You don't want to do it too thick, because when you put the other piece on there, you don't want glue oozing out of your edges. But just enough so that it holds. Put some little dots in here, because you want all of this to kind of glue down flat. The nice thing about this specific glue I'm using, the cap is right here, and you actually set it in the cap. So now you never have to have that glue that you're shaking the bottle to get it to come down out the tip. Okay, so now we're gonna line those up on top of each other. And just smooth things down. Okay. So now, since I used a glue that's still kind of wet and tacky, I am going to wait until that dries to finish assembling things, because I don't want to get glue all over my fingers. And that'll make this more firm when I go to put it together. All right? We will be back. Now that the two layers are glued together and the glue has dried, we're going to score on these outer edges. And you just fold it over, go with your scoring tool to kind of make those creases nice and firm. Okay? So now you take it like this and fold it together, and it kind of makes like a little triangle. I'm going to add some glue here and glue this together, but then you can see it's a little easel, I can put a card there or something like this little cutout that I made so that I can display it better. So I hope this helped you to learn how to make your own little card easel stand, or like I said, you can use it for other display pieces. This would be great to make a whole display to put on your mantle for all your pretty cards at the holiday times. And I want to thank our friends at Fable and Guild for helping me out with this tutorial and project. You are going to find in the description a discount code. The code is Sean Mosh, my name, and you can get 15% off your purchases at Fable and Guild on some other amazing projects like this. Thanks a lot. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you get notifications about all of my new videos. And drop me a comment. Let me know your favorite SVG file that you find over at Fable and Guild. Thanks.